Internet. Welcome back to the tavern. Welcome back to All Around the Screen. The episode this week is going to be all around character building, making characters, all that fun stuff. I've got actually a great panel with me today. I'm your host. Shane. I'll be one of your hosts this week, and then my panel. If you'd all go ahead and introduce yourselves back to these lovely people.
Hello, Internet. I'm back.
Back for the umpteenth time.
Yeah.
Hi, Internet. It's Ryan one more time, gracing your presence today.
He's gonna fill your ears with audible chocolate this evening. I promise.
Oh, so he's gonna sing.
I assume.
Okay.
Oh God, yes.
All right, here we
Hello,
go first.
Internet. It's Dani. I was on the shipping podcast the other week.
Yep.
Hey y'all, it's Erin, the crazy bird lady. So you may hear lots of cackling.
Yeah. We missed the bird lady last week. We missed the.
I know.
I had noobs on the podcast last week, and the distinct lack of any birds was bothersome to me.
Well, crazy bird lady went a little crazy last week, so that's why I didn't quite make it on.
Rip.
I'm a little less crazy this week.
Was it the birds? They got to you?
Yep, birds got to me.
Yeah, it happens.
So we'll go ahead. Let's jump right into this thing, because this I imagine this is going to be a very lively argument between at least two of us. But obviously, the most essential part of any sort of role-playing experience is at least on the player side, of course, is your player character, your PC. So obviously, a great deal of tender love, care, and other sappy emotions that I don't feel because I am an emotionless dungeon master go into creating a character. But how do you, speaking as a dungeon master, of course, how do you guys, when you're making a character, where do you start? Where does that first spark usually come from?
Well, for me in particular, and this is because I'm the min-maxer of the group. I am. So, for me in particular, first I try to think of what role I want to play in the group in terms of mechanics. Everybody around the table can pretty much tell you that 98% of my characters have a sword in one hand and a spell in the other. So that's really what I like to play. But I actually prefer to do at least try to do character creation as a group, so that way we can all have input and I can at least figure out what role I would need to play in the group. And then from there I can work on builds, and then I can build some stories around that and make a cool character for me to play.
Okay.
So I come at it from mechanics first, really.
Okay.
I usually come at it from the emotional side. Like, if I want to know how my character feels and things, and then that helps me develop said character's backstory. I need to have a character that has an extensive backstory so I understand what this character is going to be. I don't do well with flying off the seat of my pants, basically, unless I'm in the like I've talked about during previous episodes. I do a lot of the online role playing, so a lot of times we had to create an actual biography to apply to role play on, so that they know that you're a decent writer and that you can actually create a character that's not completely a Mary Sue. So I did a lot of that. Sometimes characters are inspired, just randomly pop up in my head. I'm like, oh hey, I need to make you a character. Or sometimes I just have no ideas whatsoever, and I smack my hand on the keyboard and see what letters come up, and then I see a name and go, oh, I know your backstory. Here we go. La da 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 da. But I'm usually with my characters, I'm usually very magic oriented, and animal friendly. So you'll big surprise.
Yeah, she's a druid in real life too.
All druids.
Yeah, no
All
kidding.
druids.
So I typically have some kind of familiar with me for my character, who tends to be like best friend or whatever. And a lot of my characters are really emo, and I need to stop doing that. I always kill off. Good grief, land. There you go. Sorry, bird incident.
Did he poop on your
Usually
head?
I kill. Huh?
Did the bird poop on your head?
No, she just kind of, I think she kind of tried to fly, then didn't know if she wanted to fly, but she was already flying, and then was like, I should land.
What?
Wow.
She's a slightly confused bird. To be nice to her, she kind of got into a massive bird fight last week.
Oh no.
She's okay. She just kind of got bopped out of the sky at one point. You can blame the pissy males. Yes, I'm talking about you, Luna and Apollo. Yeah, most of my characters end up becoming very emo, where a great tragedy always happens in their lives.
Oh, that's like somebody else that I know.
A sister or brother gets killed off, they get attacked.
Sounds like someone we know.
And what pisses me off is that I can, like, focus on creating a happy character. They've had a good background, they've had this and that, and everything is just good, and they're well-rounded, and then somehow I'm like, oh, by the way, they have a half-sister that ended up killing their half-brother and is out to kill her for whatever reason. I'm like, where the hell did that come from? What?
I feel like Erin's my soulmate now.
Should we go? Should the internet close our eyes while you guys make out? Is that... I mean, I will turn my office chair and not look at the screen, so...
I love throwing a dollop of tragedy to kind of kickstart the character.
A dollop, he says.
A dollop. How big is that spoon for the dollop?
I do a giant tablespoon of it and, like, smack my character. Actually, no. I do a pie tin and smash my character in the face with it and go, there's your tragedy, ass. There's your tragedy.
I know, Ryan takes like a huge pot.
I swear to God, we need to play like characters that, going back to our shipping one, we need to have characters that like are in a relationship together in the game, because we're just going to be like one-upping each other on tragedy, I swear.
My parents died already, damn it.
Well, my brother killed my parents and now he's trying to kill me.
Good freaking Christ.
Danny, am I the only one who ships this?
Game
I'm already shipping it.
Oh my God.
hasn't even started yet.
Yep.
I know, right?
Soon.
Soon, internet.
So, Dani, what about you? Having listened to the new emo couple here.
Well, I mean, for me, one thing that I do definitely differ on is that I very purposely try not to create similar or same characters. I like, when I'm starting with a character, a lot of times honestly my initial inspiration is just going to be reading something or watching TV, and there'll be some sort of, I guess for lack of a better term, archetype about their character, some facet of their personality that I want to explore and create something new from. So usually I start from there. There was one character that I made that was basically the daughter of a crime family, and I'd been watching Buffy at the time, and I absolutely love Faith, and her character is angry out of control. So for me, that was my jumping off point with Darla.
And we know how that ended up, but wait, no, they don't. Not yet.
We don't. Talk
They don't
about
know that yet.
We don't talk about that.
That's for another podcast.
That's a lovely bit of foreshadowing for a future episode where we get to explore all the things that went horribly wrong with that game.
Yeah, that was a train wreck.
What about you, Nicole?
Normally I come up with a base concept and then just roll from there. Like for Sydney, my YouTube star, the initial concept that I have was like, I want to make a parkouring dragon, and then it just roller coastered out of control from there.
Okay. I mean, so, like, I don't make too many actual PCs. Like, I think I've made maybe a grand total of 5 in my whole life.
Yes.
But I actually, ironically enough, and this is where it's going to get interesting, because I just finished making a PC today, actually. Because Nicole has graciously agreed to take over the noob campaign. So everybody, I'd like everybody to congratulate Nicole on that one.
Congrats!
Leave your congratulations in the comments, internet. I've converted another soul to GMing. Another hopeless lost soul will now be a GM. But so in doing so, I had to come up with an idea for a PC, and for me, I always like to make a PC who I tend to play high charisma PCs.
Yeah.
I tend to like bards.
See another bard. See another.
Yes, Bard.
No, I do enjoy playing bards. I really do. For this particular, but what I usually also do is I like to try to make a character who is in some way deeply set in the actual world that he's from. So for this particular PC, I made a child of the forest who comes from I didn't want to be Ryan. I didn't want to be the most special snowflake.
Or Erin too.
No. Because Ryan, and this is where Ryan and I we're gonna get to have an argument. You guys are gonna get to watch it. It's gonna be hilarious. But Ryan likes to make the character who is the most special snowflake of all the snowflakes.
Mm-hmm.
Nah,
Yes, you do. Don't even
Dani?
try to lie.
He's sputtering for a reason.
So my initial thought was, okay, so we're playing in a world in which nature is all out of whack because there was this magical blight on the world. So I wanted to play a character who is deeply tied into nature. And I didn't want to play a druid because I hate Circle of the Land druid in 5th edition, and Circle of the Moon druid is just far too melee focused for this particular group. So what I ended up doing is I ended up making a child of the forest, a Calorian. And initially my first idea was perhaps I'm the only one. And then I went, no, because that's something Ryan would do. I was like, perhaps, like, my first thought was, perhaps that my PC is nature's last-ditch effort to set the world to rights, and he is the embodiment of nature, and it'll be his quest to set nature to rights. It sounds like something you would write, doesn't it, Ryan?
Yeah.
I have one of those, actually. Except he's a barbarian.
Yeah, so I ended up rolling a shaman just because shaman, I felt like it gave me a nice combination of ranged spells, and the race gave me the nature background I was looking for. So I got to be sort of a druid bard without even having to be a druid or a bard, so it's great.
That's good. No, that's interesting. Where'd you find the class?
The shaman class, plug for Wizards of the Coast GM's Guild. They just released this thing, the OGL for 5th edition. And I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast before.
No, we haven't.
But it's like an updated version of the 3.5 OGL where anybody can publish content that's compatible for 5th edition. There's just certain rules that you have to follow. But the DM's Guild is basically like an online marketplace where people can go and create classes and races and things like that, and either put them out there for free like a lot of people have been doing, or charge like $1 per download or whatever. And then WotC is supposedly like cherry picking stuff from there to make canon, but we'll see where that goes in the future.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, supposedly the idea is that since they basically want to crowdsource 5th edition, see what people want, and go from there, So so both the shaman, I found the shaman on there, and I also found the Chlorian were an old race from 3rd and 3.5 and 2nd edition D&D that just died. Like, they were not ever brought into, like, 4th and 5th ed. So I brought, somebody did a race update for that. And they've done a lot of stuff. Like, I just sent you guys the Duskblade, which came from there, so.
That's pretty cool. All right. Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm thoroughly excited about it. I've been writing a backstory that has encompassed the majority of the last 2 days of my life, so. So we know Shane likes to play charisma-based characters. We know Ryan likes to play the most special snowflake, and Erin likes to be a druid.
I resemble this.
You resemble that remark completely. It's like looking in a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely a druid.
Hey, hold on. No. Corbin wasn't a special snowflake.
He was the specialist snowflake of them all.
He had a demon in his brain.
He was just the guy. He was just the guy.
Yes.
Alright, I'll give you one PC in your entire career that maybe wasn't a Mary Sue.
Come on, I don't make Mary Sues. Hey, stop laughing. Stop it.
I wish I could have a lie buzzer. I wish I just had a buzzer that I could play whenever Ryan lies to me on the internet.
Just because I like to optimize characters doesn't mean they're Mary Sues. There are things that they're not good at, but there are things that they excel in. I go towards the things he excels in.
So Ryan, I'm gonna ask you a question man to man. If this is true, why are you so afraid to roll your stats down the line?
Oh God.
No, roll his stats in general.
Yeah, Ryan doesn't like rolling stats in general. Ryan is a huge proponent of point buy systems.
Nah.
I like planning out ahead. I do. If we were doing an entire thing, an entire campaign, or at least a one shot where everybody was rolling, and then after we all rolled and we figured out what we were gonna play, sure, I will do that because I will figure something out to do with those stats. But I don't want to have in my head I'm gonna play a barbarian and then roll 8 strength. That doesn't work. That just doesn't work.
I mean, except for the fact that it does, because you could just be a shitty barbarian.
No,
Yeah, you could.
Be a shitty character.
Hey, Ryan.
I want to be good at things. Damn it.
That's
not
not
a-
okay. To be
Ryan.
No, that's not fun.
Ryan, you can be shit at what the class is supposed to be good at. Right now, I'm playing a rogue who is shit at perception. I have no perception. I have no wisdom.
But you are good at stealthing.
I am good at stealthing, and I'm good at finding things.
And
However,
what?
you think a rogue, you think they have massive amounts of perception. They can notice things. Not me.
No, when I think of a rogue, I think of a person that I do not know is in the fucking room until I'm stabbed or until my wallet's gone. That's what I think of.
Okay. To be fair, I keep harping on the Mary Sue thing. You can play Mary Sue or Gary Stu, but like
Excuse
you
me?
have to play him right. So you can play him, you just have to play him right.
Okay, so what in your opinion? We already know what Shane thinks. What in your opinion constitutes a Mary Sue?
No, I think you're misrepresenting my opinion, because I don't think playing an optimized... No, you're misrepresenting my opinion, because I don't think you playing an optimized character makes you a Mary Sue. I think the fact that your character is always the most special snowflake and is always, like, the most badass guy in the room, I think that makes it...
always the most badass guy in the room. This last character that I made was supposed to be the most badass guy in the room because you didn't want me to play a tragic character. So I said, fine.
Because
We're
you
gonna
always
make
play a
it
tragic
beloved
character.
Where he was from. He was just badass. Corbin wasn't the most badass person ever. Lothane wasn't the most badass person ever. He was a babby. He had to grow into becoming one. I don't play Mary Sue's.
He's so mad.
No, you play Gary Steve, or wait,
Gary Stu.
fuck, now I can't even remember. Thank you, Gary Stu.
Here, please, you're not helping me. You're not.
I'm sorry. can't be always be the most powerful one in the room. Like what I think of as a Mary Sue is someone who there's different ways to describe it. So it's either the character who's like the Bella Swan, where she thinks that she's plain and nobody likes her, but everybody.
She has a 20 charisma.
Yeah, she's the center of the attention, and everything happens to her. Or you have the Mary Sue who can do all the amazing feats, and it's always going to be there to save the entire group because somehow she's just all that powerful and all that great.
Okay. I agree with you. I agree with you in terms of that definition. I don't make those characters.
It's fine. Like, if you have a character who is, like, the most powerful in the group, that's not necessarily a Mary Sue. If that character still has flaws, still learns and grows throughout the story, or through the game, then I don't think of that as a Mary Sue. Mary Sues are often characters who just don't grow. They're there for the sake of if it's fanfiction, they're there for the sake of interacting with the main characters and being the top character. Or in gaming or online roleplay, they're there to be the center of attention. And they don't grow. They remain stagnant. Non-Mary Sues actually grow. They become different as they go along because they grow with the story. That's my interpretation of it.
I wholeheartedly agree with it, and that's why I know I don't play Mary Sue's. Hold on. No, hear me out. I do not make the most powerful character in the room. My character is never the most powerful character. What I do is I try to pick a few things that I want him to be good at, and then I make them so that they're really good at them. If you ask him to do something that he's not good at, it's not going to go well for him. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason that people think I play Mary Sue's is because I focus so much on what they're good at that I try not to draw any attention to what they're bad at.
Okay.
But when making characters, I get so into it that flaws are going to naturally appear in the character. Like when I made the character I'm actually playing in Shane's game now, I made him that he was the champion of his court, champion for a Fey Lord, one of the most accomplished duelists in the most accomplished duelist in the court, and And when he comes to the real world and loses all of his powers, he still thinks he's the shit. And he gets humbled like a bunch of times. So,
that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I wouldn't qualify that as a Mary Sue then. You have a character who grows, who learns in the story. Like, I don't think Bella Swan in the Twilight series really ever grows or learns or anything. Yes, she becomes a vampire, but she's still.
Erin.
Huh?
Tag your spoilers.
Wait, she became a I don't even want to know. I don't want to know.
Don't worry about it.
I don't want to know.
Spoilers! Oh, come on, the books have been out since I was in college. You have to have heard of it about now.
My experience with the Twilight series is that I read the first book in high school and promptly said I will never touch a single one of these again.
Well, spoilers, sorry. But she doesn't really grow in my opinion. She's not, as they said in the writing workshop that I was just in, she doesn't protag. She's a protagonist who does not protag. She doesn't move forward. She doesn't change. But it sounds like your characters do, and that's what makes them more interesting.
Yeah, and that's why I know I don't write Mary Sue's, because I don't try to make perfect characters. I try to make characters that are good at a few things, and then let the flaws kind of naturally come. And then because at least with me personally, I try to focus on the good things about me, but I know I'm a flawed individual, and that those flaws will come about naturally, and then I'll have to deal with them as they appear. But I focus on the shit that I'm good at. So that is a common theme in all my characters. But I don't.
Oh God.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, Ryan, you make fine characters. If I didn't like your characters, I wouldn't have invited you to be on the freaking podcast. So,
Well, thank you.
I just like giving you a hard time because it's funny.
I know. Now I didn't did my whole "I'm not a Mary Sue" rant.
All right, we filled the quota for this week.
Yeah, so now I don't have to listen to it on Saturday. Insert obligatory Gavin is the worst person joke here, and then we'll cover all our bases so we can just play straight through on Saturday.
Okay. Alright, that's good.
I felt so bad.
So we know that I like to play a high charisma character. Erin, Ryan obviously he's got to play some character with magic.
I like wishes. I like guys with the sword that can augment themselves with magic.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
Is there, for the rest of and Erin, obviously you like emo characters that have familiars and magic, but
Emo druids!
Emo druids for the win. But are there any other themes that you guys see that kind of permeate all of your characters, or is it just like those?
I think for my other ones, some of the themes is I have, I tend to think of my characters as kind of duo. So I'm gonna take my first online character, Silver Rose, for an example. I will say that I think she started out as a Mary Sue and changed as I got better with actually writing her. But she is the druid type. She's a healer, but she also can fight. I hate having characters who are just one thing. I want them to be both. Now, to be fair, while she can fight, she can only fight with certain weapons. She's good at a bow and dagger, but give her a sword, she sucks at it. Give her, a spear, she sucks at it. There's different things like that. She's not good at it. I make sure to give her flaws. But so I would say warrior, healer, those are the two that I love working on with. And I like, most of my characters tend to be compassionate. There's only one character who's actually, I managed to stick with her moodiness. And it's more, her moodiness comes from she doesn't want anybody to get close to her because, one, she doesn't want to lose them, and two, she doesn't want to accidentally give them information that could hurt other people that she actually does care about. And I love her. She actually ended up turning into a character in one of my books, which unfortunately is on the back burners right now. But yeah, dual personality, I guess. Okay. I like working with characters like that. It makes it more in depth.
Multifaceted character.
Yeah. She's also a writer, so hey, cool.
What about you, Dani? You've been awful quiet through all the Ryan bashing.
Well, he is sitting right next to me, so I've tried to keep the giggling just.
I got haters on all sides.
No, just one.
I hate him.
Except for Erin. Erin is not a hater.
Well, I mean, even though I usually try not to play the same character and make them different, there is, for me, always one trait that always seems to run solid through all of them, and that is sensuality. I like playing characters that are comfortable with sex and will ship at the table.
You need to teach me how to do that.
Oh, no.
For me, the other thing is I do like, as much as I like them to be talented, I do like to give their flaws a top stage. And it gets them into trouble, but I think that makes for some of the most interesting role-playing.
Okay.
Agreed.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
What about you, Nicole? Because I can think of one off the top of my head for all your PCs.
What is that?
Family.
Yeah. Yeah, my characters are always, if not always, 99.9% of them have a deep connection to their family, and I tend to make my character with a bunch of NPCs attached to them.
She will write out her entire family line.
Yes, Ryan. All right.
She, like, this isn't me giving you shit. This is me praising you for it, because that's impressive as hell.
Yes.
So
Dude, I do that too. I got a 300-page backstory of one character.
Holy crap!
Gosh.
Don't
Okay,
ever
to be-
send that to me in a game, because I'm not gonna read it.
You don't
To
even
be
read
fair,
mine,
with
and
the
they're
novel-
like 6
with the
pages.
Yes, I
novel,
do.
the character I'm
You
telling
don't?
about.
You said to me straight to my face that you did not read Sasha's backstory.
I didn't have to, because I helped you write it.
That and my characters are always left-handed. No matter what, my character's always left-handed.
And all your characters, sticking with the family thing, and I've seen like a lot of your PCs, very strong fatherly influence. Mom's usually not around, or she's like a very minor character.
Yes.
Yeah. That is I think a theme that just runs through all of your characters.
Yeah.
Cause like even who's it?
Who's it?
Sydney.
Yeah.
Like her dad was like come to find out he was super badass superhero man and married a dinosaur.
He became
but
a superhero and then married a dinosaur woman. You know how it goes.
it happens. It
It
happens.
happens. Yeah. Yeah. Trying to think if I have any other things that my characters tend to have in common.
I mean, I feel like you tend to take the opposite track that I do when it comes to sensuality. Your characters are usually more reticent, more awkward.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely more awkward.
Yes.
and I'm just more awkward IRL, so
You're just always awkward.
I'm just an awkward person.
Ryan is an actual socially awkward penguin. It's great.
I am actually socially awkward.
It's great. So is there when you guys are building a character, do you work from like do you work from the top down for your character, or do you work from the ground up? And what I mean from that is like we've sort of hit on it a little bit, but like do you guys like from the top would be like complete base concept and like in Fate, like your high concept, and like the very bottom would be like your like skills and guff like that. Like do you feel like normally you do it one way, and if you try to do it the other way you'd feel uncomfortable doing it, or what do you guys think about that?
I definitely feel like I go from the top down. I mean, if I were just to start, I guess more with the mechanics, more with just the skills, I would start to feel locked in when
Okay.
I'm writing. So I like to start with writing and then kind of go more to mechanics.
Okay.
I am the entire opposite. Like I said earlier, I like to think I especially in D&D, and that's just because I mean D&D was one of the first games that I played, and I really, really like theory crafting and like coming up with builds. They will tell you I have a notebook that's actually in front of me right now. That I have various ideas for like character builds that I really enjoy, and what I'll think of is something that I find interesting that more oftentimes than not is was inspired by like something I read in a book or something similar to Dani. Like I'll be reading about a character and part of me will connect with that, and I'll say, oh well, if he was in D&D, what would he be? Like, oh well, I mean, you want to throw in a few levels of this because he can do this, that, and the other. So I definitely come at it from mechanics first, because I like being skilled and talented at things. Not all things, but things. And then from there, I like to craft a story around like that person's deeds and what that person could have done.
Then you end up in the Hunger Games.
And then you end up in Hunger Games. It's fine. I talked to him. It's gonna be okay.
I believe you.
Okay.
I think for me, I tend to do, maybe this is a bit different, but I tend to do background story of character before I even do the sheet, because that helps me figure out what kind of skill sets the character should have, what, charisma and all that crap, what they should have. So I think of the character, I build the story, then I go top to bottom, put in the information, and if I realize, oh, hey, I want to change some of the information, I go back and fix the story, then go back to this sheet. So it kind of goes just back and forth, but I usually like starting with story because I want to know the character before I solidly build everything about them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I completely see the merit in it. I honestly do.
Yeah.
It's just not for me.
Oh yeah, no, everybody has their own way of doing it. No way is better than the other. It's just how we feel most connected with our characters. And like I said, I go with emotion. I need to know how the character feels, thinks, acts, and that might be from the writing background. I don't know, but that helps me develop everything else.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
What do you think, Nicole?
I'm definitely with Dani and Erin. I always start with the story, and as far as mechanics, sometimes I'll go in between mechanics and story, because sometimes skills or stats will help me build the backstory. But one thing that I always save for last is the name, because what I do for every character, for Sasha, she comes from, this long family, and I tend to give my characters and their NPCs, themes to their name. So Sasha's family, they're all German names. And most of the names have a sort of meaning that connects to that character. So for Sasha and her twin sister, they were named after my character in the first game. Her sister Giselle was directly named after Zelda, while Sasha, and Ryan can vouch for this because he helped me pick out the name.
Yep.
Sasha was more Zelda's attitude, because the name Sasha means defender of man.
Okay.
That's really interesting. I feel like I can't usually fully develop a character unless I start with the name. I need to know what they're named because it gives more power to that character. If they don't have a name, then I feel like they don't even have their own identity before I even write the story. So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, on a cute note, my conure is currently preening my dove. It's adorable right now.
Aww.
She's loving it. She's just like snuggling up against him. He's just preening.
Pics or it didn't happen.
If I get anywhere near them, he's gonna come at me because he's gonna try to protect her. So I don't think I can get a picture.
Aww.
That's a good man right there. I like him.
She's cooing very happily though.
Yeah. But yeah, Erin, I don't know how you can do that, because with me, I can't pick a name first. I have to wait till the very end. Like, for the campaign right now, I didn't pick Sasha's name until the week before the first session. And Ryan and I literally sat in a Skype call for like 2 hours. I'm like, Ryan, I need some fucking help picking this name.
Yeah, when it comes to the name issue, I find that I tend to be 50-50 when it comes to picking the name first or picking the name last. There have been some characters where the name just hits me in the face. Yeah, it kind of it comes to me right along with what I would consider to be their archetype. And then there are other characters where I do have to wait to the end before I pick a name. So for me, it's always just kind of dependent on the character.
Yeah.
And how important their name, I guess, is, or how obvious it is.
Yeah, definitely. I would also say it kind of comes 50-50. With my latest character, I was going for tropey. I was going for the tropiest trope, whoever did trope. I enjoyed the name Corrigan. I thought that was a pretty interesting name, just from a normal standpoint. Just I liked the way that name felt. and I wanted the tropey name, so I called myself Corrigan Mistseeker.
Tell the internet what happened with the first NPC you ever talked to.
I'm getting to that. I'll never forget it because
It's great. Brought a tear to my eye.
It set the tone for the first 4 levels of Corrigan's entire life in this campaign. Because he came up, he was interviewing to get into the Adventurers Guild, and the guild mistress, this short little dwarven lady, who was like, so step up and tell me why you think we should have you in the guild. And Corrigan came up, he announced his name, my name is Corrigan Mistseeker. And she looks him up and down, sneering, and says, well, we have no miss, so what the hell are you doing here? I was just like, okay, this is...
That'll never not be funny.
For me.
That was funny to me.
It'll never not be funny.
It was funny. It hurt, but it was funny.
Everybody at the table just kind of died laughing.
It's just like, no. Like, I got slapped in the face. Just like, no. Stop.
That's pretty damn perfect.
The humbling began. Episode 1, the humbling began.
The humbling.
Dwarf and the monk, we kept you humble.
That's Corrigan's first arc, the humbling.
Corrigan's
Yeah.
the humbling.
Yeah, no, that was his entire first arc. And he was salty as hell, too.
He had to be humbled before I could break his back. It was great.
I was like,
So we've talked a lot about D&D. I feel like a lot of the conversation is sort of revolved around like making characters a lot in D&D. But is there any games that you think that are making characters are more easy or more difficult for in terms of like the setting of the game or like thematically? Is there any games that you just find like it's really just hard to get into and make a character for?
Any of the games that have like a more of a medieval background they're a lot easier for me because I find the history and lore more interesting than like setting something in contemporary time.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I do a lot of the online role playing. I think one of the easier ways is when you get to a site, and again, a lot of times you have to submit biographies to check your writing skill. And when they have a solid structure set up of what they want you to write about, I tend to find that easier because that kind of clues me in on how much detail they actually want about your character. So it actually forces me to really sit and think about, well, what qualities does my character have? What weapons is he or she good at using? Is she a healer? Is she a douche? Is she a this? Is she a that? So that more detail actually makes it easier for me.
Okay.
I think the hardest time I had creating character was probably in Fate.
Okay.
I was
Because
just about to say that.
Because of the high concept rule where this is what you are. And for me that was really hard. That and the aspects to just figure out phrases. Like one, just what you are, and then phrases about your character.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason that was super hard for me.
Yeah, that's the only system that we played that I can really think of where I was just like, this has got to be the hardest character creation I've ever gone through.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the simplest character sheet, but goddamn, that character creation was hard.
The character creation was difficult. I would say, in terms of kind of general speaking, I have a harder time creating characters in systems that are more rules light. Because since I think of it from mechanics up,
Okay.
and it's easier for me to build things that way, if we're playing a system that is really rules light, like Fate, then it's a little harder for me to find like how to build what I want to play.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of forces me to go from the top down, which isn't bad because it definitely gets me focused more on the story. And when I do it right, I think I come up with pretty damn good stories from the top down, if I have to think of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't have that much practice with it.
Okay.
So I would say in games that are rules heavy, like D&D, where I've been playing D&D for years and I know the rules and I've read a lot of the books and it's fun for me to theory craft, I can make a character like that. Whereas for something like Fate or something like Dungeon World, I will either spend a lot of time like kind of thinking of a brand new idea, or I'll take something interesting from a character that I've seen before and try to build down from that, or I'll borrow heavily on just my personality and then kind of tweak things from there, like Gavin.
Okay. What about like a completely? I know Ryan, you and Nicole definitely played Traveller, right? Dani, did you play Traveller with us?
No,
Yeah.
I didn't.
Okay.
She didn't play with us.
Like a completely like what? How did that like? What was that like for you, Ryan? Like the idea of a completely random character creation process. Like you go in and you sort of can't really have a preconceived idea because literally your entire life is randomized.
That was a very fun one shot. It was really fun to kind of throw myself into it and just do it. But in terms of like a long-term campaign, I would hate it because I wouldn't get to kind of sit and like ruminate on that character and like the choices that I would want to like kind of lead into what story I want to tell with you and with the rest of the group.
Mm-hmm.
Me having absolutely no control over that, it makes it near impossible for me to really get into the character. You know, it becomes very surface for me, where I'm a guy who has a suit of armor and he does 0G combat and he's fucking cool, and that's really all I can get into about the character because it all got randomized. So yeah, it's harder for me to get into like.
But you don't think like, just to pose the devil's advocate argument, you don't think that had we rolled your character and then I gave you a week to say, okay, how did like, you know, what choice, like flesh, like, because I think with Traveller you get a very skeletal structure of what happened to your character, but there's a lot of blanks that you have to fill in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
no, I for sure get that.
Like, do you think it would have been different, like, if I had said, okay, we're gonna roll characters this week, and then take the next week and just think about all these choices, and think about, like, what I find really interesting about Traveller, when I was helping Nicole roll a character and I was rolling a test character, was, for me, it was like I had this idea, like my character, like his base stats led me to think, okay, this guy would be a great politician, and he tried to be a politician and failed, and so how that informs the rest of his life and the choices he makes there going forward, I found that to be a really interesting experience in terms of creating a character. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with that, but...
No, I definitely see where you're getting at, and had we had a week to flesh out, I probably could have come up with something. It would have been really hard for me personally, because I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. All the character stuff I come up with is either based in an adaptation of a couple of other stories that I really, really enjoyed, and I really enjoyed the way that the story developed. I'll draw heavily from a bunch of sources for that, or I will draw on my own personal experiences and feelings, and that's generally how I build characters, which means it's harder for me to kind of pull shit out of the ether and like fill in gaps around a randomized skeleton of a character. I definitely see the merit in it, and I applaud people who can do that. It just would have been real tough for me personally.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'd like to sit Dani down one day and just have her randomly generate a character in Traveller just to see what she thinks of it.
Yeah, it sounds like fun.
Yeah, because I don't know. It just for me, it's a really different. It was a very different experience. I think one of these days I'm gonna get Erin and Dani to sit down and we'll do that. We'll randomly roll Traveller characters and see what the heck we come up with.
I think Dani would enjoy it because she builds characters similar to me. And for me, it was really simple because it gave me those bullet points to jump off of. So I had the dots, and I can just connect. And keep going.
Yeah, you just connect the dots as you go. Okay.
So for me, I prefer rolling randomly. Like if I have the option to roll something randomly, I will. For the games that Shane and I have done with the newbies, I roll my stats randomly. For a couple of them, I've rolled down the line just to see what I get. For the cleric in the game that I'm taking over right now, I rolled her stats down the line just to see what I got.
Did you roll your stats down the line and then choose cleric, or did you go cleric and then roll your
I
stats?
had in mind that I wanted to be a cleric, and then I'm like, all right, time to roll stats. Let's do this. If I get shit wisdom, oh well, let's go.
Oh my god.
Well, I will admire that about you, because for me, I come from the old school. Back in my day, before point buy was even an option, you had no.
All right, put down your cane.
Let me grab my spectacles and lean in really close to the mic here. But back in my day, again, point buy wasn't an option, and you had no choice but to roll down the line. You rolled if you're playing D&D, you roll your 3d6 down the line, and you have to take what you have and then go with it. And if you want to play, you could definitely play to the character's strengths. Like, if you roll a guy who has, like, an 18 strength and a 5 intelligence, you could be the barbarian. You could obviously do that. Or, if you really, really want to play a wizard, there wasn't anything stopping you from playing a wizard. You just wouldn't be the best wizard.
You were just an all-right wizard.
You'd have a lot of obstacles to overcome in being a wizard, but, like, you totally could still do it. There was nothing stopping you from doing it.
That's the thing about me. I don't want to play someone who is bad at what he's supposed to be good at. And that's just the fault on me. But if I'm making a swordsman, I want to make him a really good swordsman. I don't want him to have 7 decks trying to use a rapier. It just aggravates me. That's entirely just the fault on me.
I don't know, but like use my example of like the guy with the 18 strength and the 5 int trying to be a wizard. To me, the image of like this swole freaking dude having to like put his mind into his heart's true desire to be a wizard and have that struggle of like, yeah, this is gonna be really hard for you because you're a dummy, but it's gonna be really rewarding when you pull it off. You know,
you can. A 5 int, sir.
Lord. I want to see that guy. I want to see the 5 int wizard.
Right?
I'll play that. Give me 5 int for a wizard. I'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of rolling down the line or choosing stuff randomly appeals to me just on the basis that it will make you make choices that would never have occurred to you in the first place. There is a beauty in randomness.
Definitely.
And I kind of like that idea of like piecing all the puzzle pieces together too. Like they're just if you just throw random shit, it's like, okay, sit there. I have something to work with. How do I make this all work?
It's a writer's challenge.
Exactly, and I love that. I like having a writer's challenge. And then my brain starts firing in 14 million directions. I'm like, okay, let's do this.
My creativity is not flexible enough to do that.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit. I think if you tried it, you'd honestly like it.
That's why for me, we're rolling. We're rolling characters.
For me, I know we're rolling characters for me.
Yeah.
Look out for that in April, when we play when we play Maid for Nicole's birthday, and we make Ryan wear a tutu. It's gonna be great.
Mm-hmm.
God in heaven! It's only because you're my sister and it's your birthday. It's only because of this.
Why do you think I said we're doing it? I looked up, saw my birthday was on Saturday. I'm like, Ryan, we're doing it. You can't say no.
Happy birthday to you.
It was out. We were doing this.
Right.
Caught. There was no escape. You're gonna make the real awkward guy play a maid.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Let's see what that shit looks like. Okay.
So
the whole object of the game is to win the master's affection. All right, sure.
you got this. You got this, Ryan.
You're making me play a maid shipping game, Nicole.
Look, Ryan, you've seen enough anime and read enough manga. I trust you. I trust you. You've seen enough anime to know where this is going.
Just give yourself tentacles, dog.
Yeah.
I'll play the Illithid maid, because then I already have the pre-built-in tentacles.
Mm-hmm. If there's not an option, I don't remember if there is an option for tentacles, but I will make it an option. I'll
Just
sub
put it in
something
the
out.
chart. So one other thing that I wanted to touch on, because I was having this conversation with Sean, Ziggy, for those of you who listen to Evac Station, to the Three-Way podcast, but I was having this conversation with Sean like the week before last, and we were talking about how Sean, it's difficult for him to compartmentalize his character from himself, and compartmentalizing like what he knows versus what his character knows, and like for me, I was telling him like how there'll be a lot of times like when I've played PCs, and maybe this has just been my experience when I play PCs, I get into the PC to the point where I'll make a choice that the Shane brain would never have made, but the character makes that choice, and it just kind of goes. Like have you guys ever had sort of an experience like that where or do you find it difficult to compartmentalize yourself like that, or what do you guys think about that? Because we know what happened with Ryan and Gavin.
I will say that is Gavin to this day is the best character that I've ever played.
And the worst.
No.
He's the worst.
He had flaws. No one can tell me that Gavin was a Mary Sue. He was a flawed individual.
We know.
I would say generally, I wouldn't say it's hard to compartmentalize, but I'm not 90% of the time I am aware of that compartmentalization. Like I am aware that I am having a reaction. Corrigan is sitting there being cool, but Ryan is losing his goddamn mind because I can't believe he just said that. So I can compartmentalize, but I'll know it's there. It's only in times where my RP game is on point that I'll get so into character that I will just be reacting, and the reaction will be entirely in character, to the point where they're doing crazy shit, and Ryan is gone at that point. I'm Corrigan right now, and I'm gonna have to stab you in the heart. Or I'm Gavin right now, and the game literally just made me its avatar. Everything will be okay. I've got this shit. So it's only like my best RP moments are when I lose that awareness and go fully into character.
Okay.
I think for me, like, oh my goodness, babies, hush. they're going crazy. It's my fault. I played a recording of them cooing. I think for me, one of the hardest things I find is when I know more than the character knows, and I know that she has a secret of some sort, and I'm like dying for it to come out, but I know my character has to hold back because that's how her character is. So I'm like sitting there all jittery going, damn it, I just want to say it, oh my god. But I kind of have moments like Ryan does where I lose myself in the character and all of a sudden I'm not there anymore. And that tends to happen when it's a really emotional scene with one of my characters, either, you know, somebody's died and she's upset about it, or something really bad has happened, she's emotional. I kid you not, I have cried while writing dialogue before for my character, or acting the character out, because I just get so emotional working with that character, because I feel so connected with them. You know, it's really funny when it happens, but I think that's when I completely become lost, and like Erin's over here, and or Erin and the character become one and are feeling the same things.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say I try whenever I go to RP, I definitely try just mentally before like I even sit down, just to kind of push myself back and push the character up. And just, there will be times when a character will do something that's very counter to my own personality, and I'll get kind of like that whiplash, but I don't find it to be as much of a problem. I would agree with Erin that for me, the problem is outside knowledge. Because, of course, when you're sitting around the table, you've got scenes going on that you're not a part of. And for me, I honestly have a really hard time sometimes keeping track of things that I'm supposed to know that I'm not supposed to know.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that's the real struggle.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't think I have that hard of a time with that sort of thing. It might be because I'm really good with detailing, and like with Sasha, she is a note taker. She takes notes on everything. So all of my notes are generally things that she knows. Anything else that is going on that happens to you guys, I'll keep in mind, but I don't write that down. So I'll know and remember things that happen to you guys, but that is completely separate from what Sasha will know.
Okay.
You know, that actually kind of brings up an interesting thought. I was talking to Dani earlier about characters and how I applaud Dani for constantly trying to do an entirely new character that she's never done before, because she's constantly trying to grow and constantly trying to push her boundaries as a role player. I really admire that. But we were talking about giving yourself avenues into facets of the character so that it doesn't feel entirely alien. Like, take for instance, in this werewolf game that I'm playing with Ziggy, I am making, this is the first time I've made a truly angry character, like he has rage just in his chest, and it's like a constant companion, almost. And I've never done a character like that before. Mm-hmm. So, in order to kind of give me an in to that character, I made it so that when he gets really angry, he gets very quiet, because that's how I am. So I'll give myself, I'll make that similarity between myself and my character, and that'll kind of give me a gateway to feel what that character's feeling. And I'll do that for a couple of aspects of the character. Am I alone? Does anybody else do silly things like that to kind of get into the headspace of their character?
No, I do that too. That completely makes sense to me. If I get if I get really, really upset, I will start shaking, my hands go cold, and I just get really, my face flushes up. And there was an incident with Deciota, my first D&D character who I wanted her to have like the similar rage where she has that calm sort of quiet most of the time unless she's pissed off. And when I like pulled in my anger so that I could properly show her anger, and I got really worked up. I was like, what? This shit just happened. That's pretty funny. I freaked out a tiny bit.
Yeah, and I definitely think there's storytelling value in pulling in your own experience because everybody has different experiences. Everybody reacts differently to, for this instance, anger. And Ryan gets quiet, you start to shake. My dad, when he gets mad, he'll actually start smiling. So, I mean, the obvious choice...
Oh, shit.
That's creepy.
That's fucked up. Wow.
That was rough when I was a kid.
Oh, that's spooky.
That's spooky.
That's too spooky for me.
But, I mean, it's like the obvious choice, like, for somebody who, like, doesn't experience anger a lot would be, like, just, like, I think, like, that explosive rage, just that outward sign. So I think, like, you picking something like that was a really good choice.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole, what about you? Like, do you give yourself avenues?
That's the thing, I'm trying to
security?
think, and nothing really comes to mind at first. I don't know, maybe you guys know something that I just am completely blanking on?
Yeah, that's...
You always pick, I mean, I think, like, for you, it might be the family connection. I mean, just, like, something that, like, you place value on.
But that's the thing, I could see that somewhat because, little backstory on just me, I didn't have a dad growing up, so I suppose I put that into my characters where I always, I guess, subconsciously wanted a close father figure, so therefore I always write it for my characters.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's definitely, like, emotional connection and experience that you draw on, I think, that you could say gives you an in with the character, because it's something that you personally relate to.
Right. Yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, Nicole is another example of a really awesome role player. And like, if she decides to do something entirely different, then she's off the fucking rails different.
Nicole only has 2 levels, none and ham. Those are those are Nicole's. Nicole.
When she does a character, she goes off. When she played Blue Bella, there were times we got legitimately scared, but then again, we all got too deep in that.
Wait, babe, you're telling me there are other levels besides none and ham?
I assume.
What? I have never known this.
I mean, because that's the thing for me too. It's like I have to agree with Nicole a little bit because, and this may just come from my background as a theater person and as an actor, but like I just dive into the character, and I can dive into a character like that's I don't feel like I need that emotional, like, obviously you need an emotional connection to the character, but like I was always taught as an actor that you can jump into a character who's completely alien from yourself, but you just have to commit to it, and you'd be surprised where your brain can go, and you'd be surprised as long as you go in there with, like, a non-judgmental approach. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Like, that's just it for me. Like, I'll never forget, like, I think the hardest thing I ever had to do as an actor was play a white supremacist.
Oh, God, I remember that.
Like, that was so, because it's such an alien concept to me to have this, like, ingrained prejudice in my brain that governs pretty much my entire way of my entire internal philosophy and logic, and to have to just dive into that with no prior judgment was really difficult. I'll say that it was super difficult. So I could imagine doing it at the table would also be very difficult to just dive in there to an alien character, but I also think like it's also very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can definitely be interesting. I definitely had an experience where I created a character that I could not let go of the judgment. And
Gianna.
yeah, this was...
We liked her, too.
You guys were the only ones who liked her.
She provided such a great contrast to the group to have the one religious person in the group. It was really good for contrast. Simultaneously, we are playing a game for enjoyment, and if you are not enjoying your character, then you should not be.
Right, of course, yeah, no, definitely. Like, I'll stick by that 100%. If you find after a couple sessions that this character's just not doing it for you, and you're just not having a good time, then skip it. Like, there's no, like, obviously it damages the story a little bit, but like, I think the enjoyment trumps the story in that case. Like, I would have never forced you to keep playing Gianna if you really didn't want to, and like, I respect the hell out of you for trying, as long as you did, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that is, like, just me personally. I love pushing myself and trying new characters. For me, that character was just so diametrically opposed to the way I think that it was basically painful for me to try and sympathize with her.
Definitely.
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever find it hard to leave a character?
Yes.
Like, when either, like, at the end of the session or at the end of a campaign?
Yes.
Like, because I honestly... So, a little bit about, like, the newbie game and just, like, a little weird thing that happened with me. I took one of my old PCs, Tandem Starfall, and I put him in the newbie game as an NPC just as sort of, like... Just because, you know, he was gonna be there and sort of help them out, you know, every once in a while, and he was gonna... I had this idea that because one of my characters was aspiring to be a bard, so I wanted him to kind of be her bard mentoring figure.
Oh, that's...
And then he died. Like,
Shit!
Oh, shit!
You killed Tandem Starfall?
Yep. Well, I didn't kill him. What I did was, I thought it would be an interesting, dramatic thing for them to happen, is that he gets... they're fighting a baby beholder, and the baby beholder petrifies Tandem and another member of the party. So they take the two of them to the temple to get unpetrified. And since Tandem is a warlock, his soul doesn't return to his body. His warlock patron was like, no, you're coming with me. And so the body was restored, but it had no soul. So I thought it'd be a really interesting quest for them to go and like parlay with this Fey Lord to try to get Tandem's soul back. Just as because like they'd been doing so much combat heavy stuff, I wanted to try to give them like that really interesting like social encounter. And it ended up going in a way that I didn't expect, because they were the worst negotiators of all time.
Oh my god.
Because they're noobs, and I don't fault them for this. But I ended up with Hannah, the girl who was the paladin who wanted to be a bard. She ends up not cutting a deal with the Archfey to save Tandem's soul, so Tandem died. And so it was like this weird experience for me at the end of the session where I had to like completely divorce myself from the idea of this character now because he's dead.
Oh, God.
I think that, okay, at least in my perspective, that's really like that would really only apply, not only, but it primarily would apply to the DM seat. Having to divorce yourself entirely from a character to continue on with the story. Because while I've had characters come and go, I've never really divorced myself from them. Because, I mean, I invested a good amount of myself in them. So even if they died, I still have, like, I don't know, I still carry a bit of them with me. I would say the one time that I got... that I felt really, really weird, like, for a couple of weeks after we ended the campaign was Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
because I had gotten so deep into character, and he, like, the greatest thing happened to him at the end of the campaign, but it was juxtaposed next to the fact that I had been playing this game for a year and a half, and I completely missed the point of Sean's character, who was playing my brother. Like, the knowledge that I finally got everything I wanted, and yet I completely missed the fact, in real life, that my brother was trying to get me to go home with him. I'll admit, I was deeply depressed for a couple of weeks. It was a really weird feeling to kind of leave that behind. But those moments are rare.
Okay.
Really? I feel that moment every time. I have so hard of a time letting go of a character once the campaign ends. I think the hardest it hit me was probably Blue Bella.
Yeah.
Like, I got depressed after a while. But I always get, like, a little mini depression after a campaign ends. Because that's just me. I can't let go. So,
but that's the... I hear what you're saying, but I don't ever really let go. Because I have those stories in my head, in my heart, like, forever. So I never really divorce myself from the characters, because if I want to relive that, I can. So I never really feel like I have to let go.
I feel like I try to let the characters go as much as I can, because otherwise I just remain way too attached to them. So, for example, one of my characters, bad backstory again, her son betrayed her, and she and everybody that she cared about, and she was the one who had to kill her son. And I was playing both her and her son, so I essentially, they killed each other at the same time.
Oh, God.
He hit her with something. She stabbed him in the chest with something, and he died instantly. But she lingered for a while, long enough to kind of say goodbye. But I was so heartbroken writing her death scene, because I really loved that character, and I really hated her son, who I had to use to kill her. And it was hard. Like, my friend and I, when we were doing the character, we were playing the game together, and there were a couple times where we both just kind of stopped and went, I really wish we hadn't killed her. She was mad at me for killing the character, actually. And she had one of hers die out of spite.
Wow.
I'm not even joking. She killed one of her characters that I liked out of spite.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So I was so mad at her when she did.
Versus George R. R. Martin.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, we were so mad at each other, and I'm like, you knew it was gonna happen. She's like, I know, but I didn't want it to happen. So, yeah, I had to stop thinking about her, because I was so sad when I think of that character. I cried writing her doing her death scene. I cry a lot with writing of her, like, but I had to stop thinking about her, because it was hurting so much, realizing I can't play this character anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I love this character, and I can't fucking play her anymore.
See, for me, it's weird because, like I said, I GM primarily, but, like, the few times that I have played PCs, I find, like, I can't... I don't know, and maybe this is just a weird facet of my own personal psyche, but, like, I feel like I can't fully give myself to this other PC until I've divorced myself from the person that I'm playing, and I feel like that way with villains and stuff, even when I GM, like, I feel like I can't... It's difficult for me to fully commit to either another villain or even other random NPCs in the story sometimes, if I'm holding on to that other NPC that I really, really like.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like you only have enough, I guess, enough emotional focus for one character at a time.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense for Shane in particular, because Shane goes so deep into character. I mean, he's the one that's talking about, like, diving in head first into a completely alien character and just letting your mind kind of go. And I completely understand that you would not be able to do that with multiple people at a time.
Shane, do you think it could be in part because of learning to act? Like, you have to give your all to the character that you are in before you could, and then you step back and then go into the role of another character?
Yeah, I definitely think that has a lot to do with it. Because, like, I know... I mean, it was a weird tradition where I went to acting school, but when you were done with a script, you were supposed to burn it.
Oh, wow.
Like, I never did that, because I like, and that's where I'm a bad actor, I guess, but I like to collect my scripts just because I like having the various plays and scenes, because I like seeing I like going back and looking at, like, the different notes that I made and seeing, like, why I made the choices that I made in terms of, like, beats and that sort of thing. So I never burned my script like a lot of the other actors that I went to school with did. But that was definitely, like, it was definitely a thing that a lot of them did do, is they would just, like, we had an alley, like, right next to the theater, and we would go outside and they would burn the script.
Wow. That's messed up.
What?
I did it, so it's very symbolic. I actually kind of like it. I mean, I wouldn't, but
you wouldn't burn your character sheet when you're done with the character, Ryan.
No. I think I
can
kept
always
every
make
character sheet.
You've kept just about every character sheet from every game we've ever played.
That's the fucked up part. I don't even keep... Like, I keep all character sheets, not just mine. Like, I've kept your guys's, too.
Oh my gosh.
I don't have to keep them. I've got it in my head.
Like, Shane has forced me to throw away character sheets.
What do you think, Dani? You've been silent on this particular topic. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say on this one.
Honestly, at the end of the campaign, I really do not have a problem walking away from the character. To the extent to which I feel like I've told their story and done them justice, at that point, I'm ready. It's the end. It's time to start something new.
Okay.
And it doesn't really bother me. I've actually sometimes... The thing that's memorable for me has been where I've needed to kind of separate myself from a character, not because we're, well, I guess for me, like, the main one would be Darla, where I went into a headspace with her that was affecting me to the point where, like, just for, like, my own sanity, I had to stop.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It didn't help. Again, foreshadowing for a future podcast, but what Ryan did to you didn't help, I don't think.
The group made that headspace really, really difficult. The group contributed to that downward spiral that Dara went through.
To this day, Ziggy and I have not forgiven Ryan. I will take that shit to my grave. On my deathbed, Ryan, I will say to you, you cost me a love triangle.
It wasn't my fault. No, we will deal with that later.
We're gonna save that hatred in a bottle, and when we do that episode, I'm gonna uncork the bottle, and I'll play that exact moment for you, Ryan, so you can get right back there.
It was an institutional failure, damn it. Stuff at that point.
So, branching off what Dani just said, though, like, have you guys ever had that moment where, for whatever reason, that you felt like you needed to either A, just stop playing the character for whatever reason, like, because either A, you finished their particular story and you no longer want to be part of that particular story, or because of, like, because it just gets in your head and you need to, like, not be in that particular space? Like, have you guys ever had that sort of experience before?
Yeah, I had that with first D&D character, Desiona, where when her story ended, I was done. I just was done. I didn't want to be involved with her anymore, because working with her made me feel like such a noob. I didn't connect with her character as much as I wish I had. I just made her very bland because I was still trying to learn how to D&D.
Okay.
So I was perfectly fine and happy when her storyline ended. I just didn't feel as attached to her at all. I think I did get stuck a little too much in the game in the beginning when I was playing Silver Rose, and that this is kind of going to go back a little bit to our shipping thing. This is really funny. Keep in mind, I was young when I was writing or doing the role play for this character, but there was one point where she agreed to get married to another character, and I started having in real life emotional conflict about it. Should she get married? Is she giving herself away too quickly? Is she blah blah blah? What if I have her break up with him? Oh God, what is he gonna think? How's he gonna feel? I'm like, okay, separate reality from role playing. Come on, you can do that. It was ridiculous. It was completely ridiculous. But I think sometimes with a lot of characters, I'll get a little too wrapped up where I'm like, I need to stop focusing on what's going on with these characters because it's driving me nuts. The storylines won't end, or the drama in their lives will not end. I can't think about them anymore because their lives are making me depressed.
I did have one character where I do feel like I kind of wrote myself into a hole a little bit, and I did regret it because she was a character that I liked. It was a character from our Dungeon World campaign, Paige.
Okay.
And I just, I made what she wanted too obtainable. So once she got it, her reason for staying with the group just wasn't there. So, I mean, I've had characters where, like, I feel like I've gotten to kind of, like, the end of their plot and I'm ready to let go. I did have definitely a regret with her character where I knew I didn't give her enough. And that she had other spaces that she probably could have grown, but that I just didn't develop her enough in the beginning phase for her to go in that direction.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely understandable.
Yeah. I mean, if we want to talk about character regret and accidentally writing yourself into a hole, I mean, I can definitely... There have been a couple of characters where, in creating them, I didn't give them enough story at the forefront. Generally, the way I like to play is that I'll create the character and I'll create a setup for the story, but I like the story to be kind of built and revealed in the gameplay, as opposed to the entire story kind of like preconceived in my head. Perhaps that's my sense of discovery that I want to share with the group, my best friends. Perhaps that's just my laziness. It could be a mixture of both. But there have been a couple of characters where I haven't put enough thought into the story at the beginning. So I kind of find myself kind of running out of road. And actually, to be fair, to be completely honest, that's happened with my current character, Corrigan, where actually me and Ziggy would joke that I made a D&D character as opposed to a role-playing character. I made a character who was a badass warrior who wanted to go on adventures. And he had some interesting setup, and he was powerful, and he could do crazy shit. But that's really all he's got right now. So there are times when I've been kind of floundering in the game, and I know to try to develop more story-wise, and that's entirely my fault. But I'm lucky to have a bunch of really skilled role players or friends that can help me build that story when I screw up like that. So it's still a lot of fun playing through that.
So Ryan,
I would say primarily I haven't had a character's end that I regret, and I would say that 90% of that is because of the people that I play with, because we make such great stories together that even when I fall short, you guys help me bring that back up.
But so I wanna get back to that point that you made about making a D&D character, because I think you've played with the most diverse groups, I think. Because Dani, for the most part of it, correct me if I'm wrong, Dani, but you've only ever role played with our core group.
Yeah, I mean, the only other role-playing experience I really ever had was when I was in middle school and I went on to Neopets.
Is that for role-playing? Is that really a thing that exists for?
Yeah, that was what I used it for when I was in 7th grade.
Okay.
I remember that too.
Neopets.
But so my question, Ryan, was gonna be for you, do you find yourself having to make different characters when you play with our group versus when you play with your other group, your Hunger Games group, as I'll call them for right now, because that's what you guys are playing right now? Do you feel like your character, do you feel like there's a different process that you go through because of the type of game environment, or is it do you go through pretty much the same process?
I would say the process is, if not entirely the same, very similar.
Okay.
The thing is that I'm very spoiled in terms of role-playing groups, because I have two groups that are really amazing at different things. So Shane's group, the core group, we tell amazing stories, and we role play really, really well. We don't get bogged down into the mechanics, but we tell very personal stories. Whereas my group on Sundays, we won't get as emotionally deep in our characters, but we usually tell stories on a grander scale. On a larger scale, like creation of universes scale, and the other DM, who I'm actually going to be a groomsman in his wedding, which is going to be really cool.
Hey, congratulations to Ryan's the DM. Shout out to that guy and his wife.
Yep. But in terms of their games, they were very good at appeasing to the different interests of every player in the group. So we had characters like me who enjoyed doing badass things and discovering an amazing story in the world. And we had a couple of people who were very tactically minded and really enjoyed the tactics of minis and planning out battles and things like that. And we had other guys who liked a lot of puzzles, and we had guys who really enjoyed thinking their way out of traps. And he was able to kind of cater to everybody in turn. So I would say my what? I lost the word.
Dani, help him, please.
Thank you.
Find the
Process for
Words are hard.
I hate those words.
Line.
My process for character creation has not needed to change, primarily because I've had DMs who could adapt to it, who didn't make me feel like I had to change the way I thought of character creation.
Okay. What about you, babe? Because I know I know you mostly play with the core group as well, but you've had to play with the newbies, and you've played with a couple different groups before us too, if I recall correct.
Yeah. my process doesn't really change too much. It just adapts. Like with the newbies, because I know that they're not too good at making the backstories and the character choices yet, so I take my process, but I take it back a notch. So with them, with the couple characters that I have had, I haven't gone full ham on them. Because I don't know...
They wouldn't be able to deal with...
I don't know...
I don't know. Ross was pretty much full ham. Ross was ham.
I think she was as close as I got to full ham.
Ross was full-on ham.
Yeah. She was as close as I get to full ham.
That was like a full-on honey-glazed Christmas ham at that point. If you can't tell, I'm a little hungry.
I know. Yeah, but for when we did that one-shot Dungeon World, I felt myself wanting to go full ham with her, but I knew I had to pull back a little bit because I didn't know if they were ready for that.
No, I definitely agree too, because I think for me, like we've had this conversation before, like I don't know if they're ready for me to put on my actual NPC hat. Like I don't think they're fully ready, because I remember the one time I did it, the first time I put on my NPC hat in front of the noobs, they were investigating this strange alchemically made exploding arrow. And they track down the maker of this arrow to be this batshit insane blind lady alchemist. And they go into the shop, and as soon as I describe the shop to them, I get into that mode. I put on the voice, and I just went full ham with this NPC, and after that interaction, my cousin actually went and was like, that actually disturbed me on a personal level.
All of them were so disturbed. I'm just sitting here like, yeah, what else?
Like, I don't think they were fully ready for that. Like, and I think that was definitely a hilarious learning moment for me. But it was definitely very, very interesting, I'll say.
It's interesting you bring up a concept of not necessarily shifting how you create a character, but how deep into role-playing you go for your crowd. And I don't know particularly because I've known the two groups that I play with, like I've known them for years. Like I went to high school, I went to college with these people. So I don't really have to hold anything back, but I don't have much experience with playing with brand new people, so I couldn't tell you how much I would hold back with like a brand new group. That's very interesting. It's a very interesting conundrum to me.
It's weird because like in the first game that I did with them in Pokemon, and I think in this one, before I took over, I would drop hints on them, you know, because I'm used to playing with you guys where you would pick up on that. So then after the scene, I'm just sitting there going, they didn't see, and then I have to remind myself that they're noobs, they don't know. So I kind of have to pull myself back.
So, spoilers, I'm going to let y'all know, and I'm going to let Nicole know right now. I'm going to try the exact opposite approach.
What do you mean you're gonna try the opposite approach?
Well, because like when Nicole was playing in the game, she was trying to like pull herself back as a role player and like help the newbies along, and she was sort of like my co-GM in that sense. I'm gonna try the exact opposite approach where I'm gonna go full ham on them from the start and see what happens.
I can't wait for that shit. Oh, I cannot wait for that one.
I don't know if they're ready.
I don't know if they're ready, but they're gonna have no choice but to find out what's gonna...
Like, I'm so scared to GM for them because I don't know if they're ready for me to go full ham.
It's gonna be fun. That's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear how it goes.
Yeah, I know for like when I GM for them, I had to hit them with the kid gloves a lot, like in terms of GMing. Well, yeah, but just in terms of like encounter planning and in terms of like in terms of like the scale of threat that I'm throwing at them. Like I feel like I'm having to hit them with the kid gloves, you know?
Yeah. And that's why I'm terrified, because I don't know what they can handle, because I'm so used to the core group, and I know what we can handle. So when I was making the encounter, I kept second guessing myself, like, is this too much? Are they gonna be okay?
That's really cute.
There may be some PC death on Friday, so.
Oh god! It's gonna be good!
I mean, I'm gonna do everything in my power to keep those noobs alive, but I don't know if even I can keep them all alive.
Look, I scaled it back from my original thoughts. I'm gonna go back a little bit and see how they react, and then we'll see if they can handle full hand.
So one other question that I really want to ask you guys, because I would find it super interesting, your thoughts on this topic, now that I bring up PC death. How would, like, I know, in my games, spoiler, I'm a pussy GM, I don't like to kill characters unless, like, I purposely will try anything I can to not have a PC die in a way that they didn't have some sort of direct input on. Like, I've never had a character die in, like, a random encounter or in some way that I hadn't already discussed with the players beforehand. But, like, how would you guys feel, like, if, let's say, we were an adventuring party and we got attacked by wolves and one of you guys happened to get killed by the wolves and that was the end of that character?
That would suck.
That would really suck.
In unequivocal terms, that would suck.
I mean, it would suck, but one of the games that I still remember enjoying the most was what was it? It was that Halloween World of Darkness kind of Call of Cthulhu game we did.
Uh-huh.
And we were nowhere near on the power level that we normally were. And I very much felt like my character could die at any moment. And I didn't get the sense that you were playing like to kind of like keep us alive like as much as you usually do. And I really enjoyed that. I liked the stakes.
So, but let's take it to the other side. Like, let's say you're playing Iriel or you're playing Nyera, and let's say, for the sake of argument, like, let's say Saturday, you guys get into a fight with evil Asher from Earth 2, and he hits you with like a Scorching Ray spell, crits on the spell, and does enough damage to just kill you outright. And I don't imagine that you have sort of this end idea, at least, you know, you might have an idea for, like, another character, like, that you would be okay with her story ending at that point. But, like, how would that make you feel, like, to just die just completely outright like that?
I mean, I could see that being... I mean, it wouldn't offend me, okay. And I could see it being a plus kind of, like, surprising plot point for the story.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I would be offended. I would be really sad.
Agreed.
I mean, like, just the idea of Corrigan's story ending without any real, like, resolution. Like just a random encounter, or like, I mean, if Corrigan were to die fighting Asher 2, I mean, that's not just like bandits on the road and they crit you and you die. I mean, that would be a very real thing for the story in general, and so I would feel like the death would have meaning and impact on the group and on the game as a whole, in which case I wouldn't be too mad. Moreover, I'm not upset with a character dying if it's for a purpose, or if it has import to the story. If it's just a random bandit, then yeah, I'm gonna be really salty. but if like a major villain killed him and the effects of that death are going to be rippling throughout the game, that would definitely, I would not be mad at that.
I think for
The special snowflake wants to go out in a blaze of glory, basically.
Exactly.
No. Special snowflake needs to be sacrificial lamb. That's what. I play sacrificial lambs. I'm sorry.
Okay.
If I can die so that the rest of the party will live, I will make that choice every single time. Every single time.
I mean, for me, I guess it kind of depends on the world you're in and kind of the genre, what kind of expectations have been kind of set up. And I mean, for me, like, the thing that makes me kind of think about that is I belong to a book club, and we were reading a book called Station 11, and it was post-apocalyptic, end of the world, society ends, and you had people, like, important characters dying in potentially stupid ways, but it kind of validated the realness of the world that writer was creating. So, like, I could see, like, it being more upsetting for, like, a high fantasy setting. Like, it might not fit as much. But depending on the genre you're playing, I could see it kind of, even though it would be, like, I guess what some people would be, like, considering, like, a stupid death. You step on a nail and you die because you didn't have a tetanus shot. But it reinforces the world.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah, I understand deaths that serve to, validate the danger that we're in, but killing major characters for shock value aggravates me. That's why I'm having problems with The Walking Dead right now.
And Game of Thrones too, right?
Yeah, well, I've been reading Game of Thrones. I knew those were coming, and but here's the thing: the deaths in Game of Thrones. Trying to avoid any spoilers, but the deaths in Game of Thrones, while some of them felt early or like they pissed me off to no end, the ramifications of those deaths reverberate through the entire story. So their end has meaning, and that's what I need. I need more meaning than just, oh well shit, it's it's Game of Thrones, or oh well shit, I mean zombies, they're real things, guys. I need more important than that.
I actually have a story for you guys about death of a character. This wasn't my character, but I reacted so badly to it that it might as well have been. So, I had a character who is married to another guy, and at one point, my character in the game, my character got kidnapped and got turned into a thrall, and had to do whatever his captor said. Well, his captor told him to shoot his husband. And, like, I made the action that he shoots at his husband because he's a thrall. My friend, who's playing the husband, has her character get killed. So, yeah, my character killed his husband while under a spell.
Correct.
And
that's rough.
To make it worse, she does this, right? And I'm sitting there in complete shock, going, what the fuck just happened? And she goes, okay, we have to end it here tonight. I'm like, what are you talking about? How can he do a cliffhanger? He's not dead, right? He's really not dead, right? And she didn't want to tell me, and what it came down to was it was leading to another part of the RP where actually my character had to essentially go to hell to rescue his husband. But I was so fucking devastated when she did that, because I knew my character would never forgive himself, and that he might try to take his own life and to follow his husband into hell, essentially. But I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked because I did not see that happening. I think I got to the point where I felt too safe in the RPG where I was used to our characters being in these horrible situations, but we always somehow made it out, and to actually have her character get murdered by her husband, or by the husband no less, I was just flabbergasted. And I went to bed really mad at her that night.
The saving grace for me in that situation is that she had a whole arc for your character to go through and just save her husband. If it was just, no, your husband's dead. Your husband's dead. So just chew on that for a while. Your husband's gone. Move on. That would have pissed me off. But
and I thought that's what she was gonna do
for you. Yeah, no, that'd be interesting. That's interesting. That makes an interesting story. That has the story have meaning as opposed to just, well, I mean, you're a thrall, so you can't really do anything about it. Ha ha ha.
Right, but she wasn't gonna tell me. She was gonna leave me with that torment until we continued the session.
You gotta torment your characters. Just hope it.
No, she wasn't just tormenting. Okay, this is an example where I got way too involved in the character, because she wasn't just tormenting her character, she was fucking tormenting me, because I was as devastated as my character was that his husband had died. I'm like, you can't do that to him! You can't do that to me!
I'll never forget there was the moment in our Marvel game where, Dani and I had talked about, she was playing her character, and she was like, hey, you know what, I kind of want to do something different, I want to play this other character, so I was like, okay, alright, so just come to the game, and we'll work, and I'll work it out so that, by the end of the session, you'll be playing a new character. So, they get aboard, they're doing an arc versus thralls, or Skrulls, rather, Skrulls, I don't know why I said thralls.
Skrulls.
And
sorry.
it comes to a point where the group is running down a hallway. One of the NPCs who's with them reveals himself to be the Super Skrull, takes aim at Dani and shoots her in the back of the head. And Ryan gave me this look like he would never forgive me.
Man, it came out of left field. I'm
like he would actually murder Dani in front of us.
Yeah.
Without giving me a reaction.
Yep.
So, to be fair, I was so in character at that point. When shit happened, I was like, wait, what? and it was only afterwards that I'm like, no, they planned that. She wants to play a new character. Take a breath, Ryan. I was.
It'll be okay, Ryan.
Just the initial moment of he gave me this look like he would never speak to me again for what I just did.
Are you fucking kidding me right now? They really just fucking. I was waiting for him to say, "No, I'm fucking with you," especially because the NPC was Dani's boyfriend.
Yep.
Oh god.
All of a sudden, Dani's boyfriend's a Skrull, fucking shoots her in the heart. Dani's dead. I'm like, what? Excuse me? What is this? So no, that was quite spooky. I was mad IRL for a quick second. And then my senses returned. I'm like, wait.
And then you realized Dani was giggling.
And then I looked at Dani, and Dani was like, yeah. I'm like, okay. Okay.
Man, Shane, you fuck up with people's heads, don't you?
No, he likes fucking with my head. Because
Not
I
just...
have a big reaction.
Dude, not just yours. Do you remember what I did to Angel?
Oh.
What'd you do?
So, Angel likes to play, and he's not here to defend himself, so Angel, if you'd like to come on and defend yourself, be more than happy.
He's busy on the presidential trail.
He's really working that independent scene, guys. He really needs your support. He needs you to rock the vote. But Angel very much likes to play he likes to play characters who are very, very introverted and to themselves, and he likes to play characters who they usually have very, very few connections, if any, to the other PCs or the rest of the world in general. Except Castiel, because Castiel was a whole nother story. But, so, we played a very short Rippers campaign, and in that campaign, he decided he was going to follow Nicole's example and give this glorious family backstory. And it ends up being that he during the course of the game, continued to make choices that his family ended up hating him for. And it got to the point where he had this deep demonically possessed sword, and they were in the Vatican trying to get it blessed by the Pope. And his brother comes in to arrest this person who he thinks is an imposter of his little brother. And when he finds out that, no, this is not an imposter of my little brother. This is actually my little brother who's actually being this big of a dick right now. He turns around and he tells his little brother, like, I don't care whether or not it's you or not, but I want you to know that Mom died out of grief for everything that you did.
Oh, God!
And in that moment, because Angel had no idea. He hadn't seen his family for years, and he had no idea. And he just, like, he was broken.
Angel emotionally collapsed. It was so bad.
Did he cry?
Oh, my God.
I don't think I've ever had a PC cry at the table.
Oh, my God, he actually cried?
No, I don't think he cried.
He cried internally.
He cried internally, yeah. No, I don't think I've ever hurt anybody to the point where they've actually shed IRL tears. I can't, and that's just me this is just my psychoses as a GM, I suppose. I won't kill a PC, but I'll hurt you real bad. I'll hurt you on a deep, emotional, personal level.
Yes.
I've done it to Ryan and Nicole and even Dani. Like, I don't know how many times I've just hurt them.
Shane, I don't think I should ever play a game with you. Cry.
Erin would be my first. She'd be the first PC to cry at the table.
Either I would cry or I would grab the closest object and hurl it at you. I'm not quite sure. Depends on the mood I'm in when you fuck me over.
Well, that does it. We have to play a game with Erin.
Yeah, that does it.
I mean, yeah, I wanna see if I can break you, Erin. I have to know.
We're doing it now. You did this to yourself.
But I think it goes back to like what Ryan was saying earlier about how our games are very, very deep and personal in that respect, because we tend to try to play longer term games. At least I like to play games that way. Like, I like to play games that span a long time because I feel like it gets you really into that personal space with the character. So I think that has a lot to do with it, is when the story just hurts on a personal level.
Actually, I would disagree. I wouldn't say it's because of the long-term thinking that we do that. I think it's because our group in general just likes playing very emotionally invested stories. We could do like I got kind of invested in the Slenderman 2-shot that we did because we built the characters, and in general I think our group we like to tell emotionally charged stories. So
I would definitely agree with that.
yeah. So when I goof up and make a D&D character as opposed to an emotionally charged character, then I'm all out of sorts because I don't know what the fuck's going on.
It's okay, I still managed to break you.
Yeah, no, you still managed to pull it around. So yeah, Corrigan is hurting at this point. But yeah, I would say it's the dynamic of our group in general that we like to play emotionally charged tales, rather than just the amount of long-term feeling that we're trying to aim for.
No, but I agree with you in that respect, but I also think that the longer you sit with a character, it definitely helps ingrain those feelings in you. And maybe that's just for me.
I could see that. No, I agree with that. The the long term it gives us more chance to settle into the character, to actually let it grow in us, as opposed to just on the page.
Yeah.
You also get to see them go through different arcs rather than just like kind of like one development.
Sure,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we got to see Corrigan be humbled, and then we got to see him be broken. Now we got to see if he can rebuild himself.
Yeah. This is it, man. It's the come up arc. Corrigan.
Your time is now.
His time is actually now.
His time is actually now. Corrigan Brisbane. We're about to rebuild him to be back stronger, master. It's gonna be building.
Oh God. No, I definitely agree, but do we have any? I mean, I see it's getting a little late. We've gone almost 2 hours at this point.
Oh
Oh
my.
my god.
So I'd like to. Any final thoughts on? I had this idea that we would talk for maybe like 45 minutes, and then we would actually like try to roll a character like as a unit and see what that experience would be like with the 5 of us putting our heads together to make a character. But it's.
Which I just got new dice, so that'd be awesome for that.
well, we might have to
also take so much time.
Oh god, yes, I know.
Yeah, I think we'll do that as a follow-up episode. Maybe we can do that next week. We can actually sit down and have that just be the episode of just the 5 of us putting together a character. So any final thoughts in terms of just anything that we've talked about, anything like any maybe one tip for character creation to somebody who's new or to somebody who's like, I don't really know how to, make a character. Like, where do I, how do I start? Like, give us your give me your elevator pitch, your big tip.
My biggest and strongest tip that I have for the noobs and all the people out there is don't play with Shane. He'll make you cry.
Would you rather play with me, Erin?
Huh?
Would you rather play with me?
I don't know. I might get drugged. Oh wait, no, that's Dani.
That's Dani.
No, Dani will drug you.
I love you guys.
Did Erin find the shotgun that I hid under the table? Is that what happened? Jesus.
Damn.
The chest.
The chest?
That was cold-blooded.
Like, that hit the spray from that one just hit me. Wow. That took a turn.
So, let me see if I can wrangle us back to
Bring us back.
Alright, Ryan, get us back on track. I know you love finding the rails, so...
Yeah, find these
yes,
rails.
I do. No shame in that.
No shame. No shame in your game.
No shame in my game. So, my big tip, I would say do character creation in a group. Do it with the group that you're playing with, because your group, your fellow players, along with your DM, you guys are all there to have fun together and to tell a great story as a group, as opposed to just trying to single out your character and make your own story. So while I would say make it in a group so that you can bounce ideas off of them, and not only can they help you come up with an amazing story, but you guys will also have a story that all fits together, so you guys will all be on the same page when you begin the story. That's my big tip.
I would have to say my big tip is that flaws are your friend. It's tempting to focus on the positive aspects of the character, but what's going to, I think, really make them memorable is what sometimes makes you dislike them.
So don't be Ryan.
Dani's tip: play better than Ryan. I think that's
Yeah, right.
It's damn good tip, man.
it's a damn good tip. Play better than Ryan. You'll have a better experience. What about you, Nicole? Do you have a tip? Do you have a tip for the people?
The tip I will give the people of the internet is the tip that I give them at the table. Take your wrist out, look down at your bracelet. What would your character do?
Okay.
I look Sometimes I'll be at the table, look down at my bracelet. What would Sasha do? All right, she's doing it.
She's gonna do something horribly stupid.
The amount of times I tell Dani or Ryan, look down at your bracelet. What would Corgan do?
Yeah,
I roll my eyes when she looks down at her bracelet because Sasha does oh shit!
No, you roll your eyes when I look down at the bracelet, and then I roll a die.
I'm like, Sasha, stop! Just
No.
fucking, it's entirely in character, but I wish you wouldn't be dumb. Just stop it.
I'm going ham.
Honey glazed, man.
Honey glazed.
We're just gonna drizzle honey all over that ham.
Hashtag honey glaze.
God damn it! All right,
Erin, what's your...
Erin, do you have an actual tip, or would you like the shotgun again?
Oh man. You know, actually, I think my biggest tip is don't be afraid to ask questions when you're building your character. Like, if you don't feel you have inspiration or you're confused about building the character, ask the DM questions. Ask anybody in the group questions, like, what's the best way to form my character? I wish I had been brave enough to do that when I first created mine, because I think I would have had a lot more fun actually role-playing in that game, because I didn't understand the character structure very well. So ask questions. It's okay.
Your group is your friend.
Your group is very much your friend, and I will... Go ahead, Ryan, I'm sorry.
I personally love helping other people create characters. I personally just love it. Like, I love giving I love giving my viewpoint from the mechanics aspect, and then hearing what stories you're coming up with, and then not only trying to work with what you're working with, but also try to optimize it just a little bit and like give you shit to spin off of. I personally love helping other people make characters.
Gee, Ryan, it's almost like you might actually be a good GM sometime.
Did that already. God damn it.
If I have one tip, I will give this tip, and then I will listen to Dani and everyone groan in unison, because I assume that's what they're gonna do.
Okay.
Tropes are okay. That is my tip. My tip is that if you want to play the swashbuckler, it's okay to be Zorro. It's okay to use that as a starting point for your character, and you don't always have to come up with something from scratch. It's okay to steal shit. Stealing shit is okay.
Ryan does it all the time.
Ryan does it all the time.
Did you honestly expect me to groan in
No, I was just being facetious.
Yeah, shit. I'll use inspiration as starting points all the damn time. Like, my tip on that would be to try to find little ways to make it your own. Because you don't want to play Antonio Banderas Zorro, you want to play your Zorro.
Definitely.
Do what you would feel would be fun, as opposed to trying to be Antonio Banderas. So, tropes are great. Just find small ways to make it your own.
And then I think I'll give one more tip because I feel like I think this will be a good tip for veteran role players as well. Yeah. Roll your stats every once in a while.
Ryan.
Just try it and see what happens, because
so subtle. It's very subtle.
It isn't even.
I've rolled my stats before, Shane.
I'm not targeting it at you. What I'm targeting it at because the idea of having that random place to start will take you in directions you wouldn't necessarily go, and I think that'll be very helpful for a veteran role player who maybe is trying to expand themselves, or is trying to. Maybe they feel like they're in a rut where they always play the same character. Yeah, you always play the same character because you always point by your stats and you always put the points in the same stats. That's why you feel like your characters are very the same. So, it's okay to roll your stats every once in a while. It's okay to have a little bit of randomness in the character, and that'll be my final thought on that. But, I want to thank all of you guys for joining me this evening. I know all of you have better things to do with your time.
Not really.
But, again, we're going to close it down here. But thanks again, Internet, for tuning in to All Around the Screen. And we'll catch you next week with some other shenanigans. Later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.